Yeah, we're just filming. Ayriss slept with someone for the first time. So,
So you got to deal with it?
yeah, so I figured we'd turn the cameras on and
Correct.
process right afterwards. So that's what I'm sharing about right now. After a breakup, how have you felt when your ex-boyfriend or your ex-girlfriend sleeps with someone else? When they meet that new person and you know that they are connecting intimately with someone who is not you, allowing themselves to experience love with someone who is not you. I have always felt in the past so challenged by that. I've felt so insecure, meaning that if they slept with someone else, what that meant was that I was somehow less than, that it had adjusted who I was in the world. I was no longer this person. I was some lesser version. I wasn't the love. I was loved less somehow. And this episode is really about showing you the process, because a lot of you have been leaving comments and sending messages about how inspired you are by the level of communication that Azri and I have had during this uncoupling process. As we've been breaking up, the fact that we can have conversations about meeting someone else or about whether or not we desire any intimacy with each other, like whatever the conversation is, we've been able to communicate at a really deep level through this process. And she called me to tell me she had slept with someone else for the first time. And we're able to joke about it now. We are able to joke about it, which you'll see at the end of this episode, that we get to this place that's truly beautiful there, that I want to exist. And I want to share with you that it is a process. And so 15 minutes after the phone call where she told me that she'd connected with someone else for the first time, I said, hey guys, get the camera. Let's talk about this. And this is what that looked like.
A couple days ago, I posted on Instagram about being lonely for the first time in 9.5 years. And how I woke up that morning and I told you guys that I felt this physical, like, untethering, this physical release of feeling lonely. I got off the phone with Azria just a little bit ago, and the morning I woke up and felt that absence and that alone feeling the night before was when she slept with someone else. And so I just found out about that 15 minutes ago.
How'd that feel?
I didn't have the trigger I thought I would, was the cool thing to notice. You know, there was a lot of imagining what this moment would feel like and what it would be like when I found out, however I found out that she had slept with someone else. And I didn't feel any anger. I didn't feel any disappointment. I think the most surprising one is how much love and compassion I feel for her. Like, I felt such tremendous compassion for how hard how hard it must have been. And I know that because I did it. I slept with someone else, and we talked about it. Like, after sleeping with someone else, how many mixed emotions come up, how this feeling of just, I don't want to hurt her, and I don't want to limit my growth and my expansion during this period by not acting how I want to act or doing what I want to do because of her feelings. Like, we've broken up, kind of the point. Follow my truth, follow my intuition. And that led to me connecting with Ruby, and that experience for me hasn't lessened my love for her. I don't love Azria any less just because I slept with someone else. My emotional experience towards her has not changed. And so that, for me, is so healing, because in this moment, hearing for the first time that she has connected with someone else, I don't take that as a lack of love from me.
And so I was surprised by how I felt. I was actually taken aback by the fact that I didn't drop into this wounded version of myself that would say, I'm not enough. She loves me less. This other guy must be so much cooler or more masculine or more wealthy or better looking or whatever that is. And I could allow myself to spiral in that. I could give into those thoughts if I wanted to. And so much of this is about being present with what is, being honest with where we're at. Because the reference point I had before Azria told me this was when I was 21 years old and the last girlfriend I had, who then slept with someone else, and how I felt back then. And as I thought about how I would feel when Azria would sleep with someone else, I would project that old reference point onto my present experience. I'm going to be so heartbroken. It's going to make me feel all of these things. But that wasn't what actually happened. And because I had a new reference point of who I am now and the fact that I had connected with someone else first, I could use that as the new baseline and say, oh, I don't love her less. She doesn't love me less. It's okay. You're not less than. And so for you, how many of you are using old reference points, old versions of yourself to project into future events? Allow yourself to say, I'm a different person. I'm a different person than I was 6 months ago. I'm a different person than I was 6 years ago. And therefore, I can have confidence in my ability to show up now and be honest with where I'm at. And by doing that and giving myself the space to feel really deeply, you will find your way back to your heart, just like I did.
I'm amazed at how much love I'm holding in my heart during this experience. My primary emotional experience has not been something painful, awful. I don't feel slighted. I don't feel any of that right now. I also didn't feel any resentment or anger towards Azria for the first 2 months of our breakup. And it was at Burning Man that started to come out. So I don't know what's under the surface. I know what I'm feeling now, and I'm feeling encouraged. And I got on the phone with her right after being on the phone with Ruby for the first time in several days. And having a conversation with Ruby around, yo, we're going to Vegas. I'm going to get drunk for the first time in six years. The whole point of this time for me is not having to filter my experience and what I want to do through someone else's emotions. Like worry about how my actions are going to affect this person's emotions. I've been holding that for so long. I don't want to be holding that. And here's the truth. I am. Like I am. So I can say that I don't want that, and now I'm just in resistance to the truth of what is. The truth of what is that if I were to sleep with someone in Vegas, I would worry about that hurting Ruby's feelings. I would worry about that hurting Azria's feelings. But at least, and so I don't know with Ruby. We had the conversation. We talked about it. So what do you want to know? How about the fact that I'm making a fucking show about all of this, which means I can't really hide any of it. I could, but that would be out of integrity of the whole point of this. So if I get into what she called a sloppy makeout session in Vegas, like that shit's probably going to get talked about on the show. It's going to get shown. And so while with her, there would initially be, yeah, I had a sloppy makeout. It didn't mean anything. I was drunk. Like, I don't need to talk to her about it. I don't need to tell her. The request is that if it's going to show up in the show, that she hears it from me first. So I have to watch that. And I respect that, and that's valid. And that's a layer that's hard for me right now. Because right now I feel really tender. I feel really vulnerable and wanting to feel like I can be protected. Like wanting to have that wall of, yeah, I can do all these things and not have to worry about Azria or Ruby and their emotional experience around it. But this show prevents that. And instead of seeing it as a limitation, seeing what is this show actually doing? This show is inviting me into deeper levels of trust that I can, keep my heart open.
And so we're honest about where we're at, and now we have choice. The awareness gives us choice, and that choice is based on our truth of what is. What is the action that we take now? What do we choose for our lives based on who we want to be? What we want to see more of? The idea of going to Vegas and sleeping with a bunch of women and going on a sex craze, or going to Vegas and being completely removed from it in order to protect what I think the hearts of Azria and Ruby want. What is the loving choice there? There's not an empirical truth, meaning I'm not here to tell you that in your breakup that you should or should not take this action. If you want to go on a sex bender with as many people off of Tinder as you possibly can, great, awesome. How I chose to show up in Vegas, which you're going to see, by the way, in a later episode, so get ready for that. But how I chose to show up in Vegas was based on my truth of what love is for me. And the way that we can find our way through that experience is giving ourselves the space to feel, truly giving ourselves the space to feel, and then asking the question, what do I want? This is not selfish. This is selfless, because when you get clear on what it is that you actually want, who you want to be, what you'd like to see your experience become for your reality, you're going to be able to take action based on that. You're going to be able to show up as a version of that, which is going to let the people in your life know. They don't have to guess. And that's such a selfless act for the people in your life to be able to see you and say, wow, there's a level of love. This is what love means to this person, and I can show up as a reflection of that. This is the key component. What do you want? Because there's no right or wrong action to take. And so from there, once you've asked that question and you're getting clear on what it is that you actually want in your life, does it become easy? No. Hell no. It doesn't become easy just because you know, just because you've made that decision. What actually happens is now you get to make the choices. You get to take the action. And that is sometimes the hardest part because we have the voice in our head telling us all the reasons why the new action we want to take is unsafe. All the reasons why you should stay the same, which is the role of that ego, to keep you in the known, even if it's uncomfortable. And I am not immune to that. This is what happens when I spiral in those ego thoughts.
And I can't help but that part of me, that ego part of me, feeling as if I wasn't enough for her to discover that. I wasn't enough for her to be fulfilled in all ways sexually. I don't know. Like there's that thought that pops into my head. And then I immediately say, that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. How? And the biggest fear that is expressed on her end is because she has vocalized her wanting to keep the timeline open for the two of us to have some form of relationship, to raise kids together. And I hold that potential open, meaning I haven't decided I will never get back together with Azria. I will never have children with Azria. Like, I don't know. I'm just living moment to moment. And a huge fear that was expressed was, what if our sexual identities are incompatible? What if, as we dive into what I actually want and what she actually wants, we find that they're incompatible? What if she wants a open relationship? What if she's one of those people who just has that compersion thing and wants to be in non-defined, non-monogamous relationships? What if I want monogamy? And we discover that our truths are incompatible, and that forever closes those timelines of us being together or having kids or whatever that might look like. And how the fear of losing that is so palpable that it's a consideration, almost a limitation to doing what we would do if it wasn't there. If we weren't afraid of losing that time, if we just said that's just never going to happen, would we do something different? Would we dive into our sexual exploration at a deeper level? And how funny to have a fear of more deeply knowing ourselves, because that's what we're talking about. Her more deeply understanding her sexual identity, me more deeply understanding mine, and how we can fear more deeply knowing ourselves. That's how, that doesn't make any sense to me. That doesn't feel true. That doesn't feel right. And that's how I know that that's a fear-based decision. Because love makes sense in its paradox of truth.
So what is your truth? I'm not here sharing my process so that you can see the empirical truth of what's right or wrong. I'm here to show you how I arrive at mine. And yours will look different. And so many people on this planet are scared to acknowledge what their truth is, to go through this process, to find their truth, because they're worried that they wouldn't be able to handle it. That somehow, if they're honest about what they want in their life, that it's going to create all these problems. But at the end of the day, how do you know? If I had said to Azria, please never tell me when you sleep with someone else, I would never actually find out that I'm now the person who can hold her in love in that process. I'd still be thinking I'm this 21-year-old version of myself who, if Azria sleeps with someone else, that I'm less attractive, less manly, less desirable. I know that that's not true now, and I know that because I was willing to face off with something that is scary. And go through the process of sitting in the emotion and then allowing myself to just be honest about what's coming up. What are the thoughts that I'm having? Notice the ones that feel really good, that surprise me. Notice the ones that are the ego telling me, you're not worthy. Be careful here, protect your heart. And allowing myself that process to arrive at, what do I want? With all that information in front of me, what do I actually want? Who do I want to be? And based on that, I get to now take action. I'm not running from what I want. I'm actually facing it head on. And I have this process that I've just shown you that you can apply in your own life. And when you do that, the energy will move, the emotion will move through, and you will arrive in this beautiful space where the heaviness leaves and you're left with the lightheartedness, the play, where you can joke about the very thing that was so painful maybe only a week before. It's just funny. Of course, the night before I go out, she texts me. She's like, I'm just feeling a nudge to say hi.
It just kept coming in. I was like, he can say no. I'm just gonna poke
Of
a little.
course, of course that would happen. Just like I got the nudge, I got like the loneliest morning of my since we broke up, the loneliest feeling morning, the night after you slept with another guy.
Every time you say that with like this like.
Well, I'm like learning how to say it. Like I said it to Hunter as, my girlfriend getting plowed by another dude. So I feel like I've made an improvement.
Yes, it has evolved.
It's evolved. So this is the conscious version where you've slept with another man, you've downloaded codes from his semen, and now you're a greater alchemy of existence into something that neither of us could have seen coming. So
Seen coming.
You see what I did there? Right. So
All right.
thank you for doing that work for both of us.
My pleasure. Anytime.
And so there it is. There it is. Azria slept with someone else. I thought it would be the end of my world. And instead, I learned so much about who I am now that I am embodying more because I have that external reflection. I can own it. Yes, this is another way that I've surprised myself in how deeply I can choose love. Amazing. Now I get to blast that out even more with my beingness. And what about you? What about you in your life? What is that thing that you have been so scared to actually face off with the truth of? Whether it happened 10 years ago and you're still carrying it, or last week, or it happened today. What is the thing that is so heavy for you that you are making it mean something about yourself that is causing you to avoid it? What is the thing? Did someone cheat on you? Did your partner ask you for a divorce? Did you get fired from your job? Did the person you were asking out on a date say no? What do you make that mean? If you choose, you can make that mean that you are not enough. I used to. You can make that mean that you are not worthy of love. You can make that mean that you should shut down your heart because the world is a scary place. You can do that. And you can also make it mean that that person is just not right for you. That person is simply not a match. That job was not your dream job. There's something greater for you. There's a greater relationship. There's a greater opportunity. There's a greater experience that is available to you that you are calling in unconsciously that you may not have been aware of, and now you have the opportunity. because awareness gives us choice. So take it in. Take it in, face it head on with courage. Because here's the thing, if it's showing up in your experience, it's because you have everything in you right now to face it with courage and strength and use it as a tool to catapult you into the life that you desire. That's why it's showing up, because you're strong enough to be with it. Thank you. Thank you for facing off with the fear. And thank you for choosing love so that everyone else on this planet can see you doing it and be inspired to do it for themselves. As always, in all ways, you are seen, you are heard, and you are loved. Thank you so much for watching this and taking the time out of your day to commit to the art of choosing love. And it is my hope that by showing you my heart, showing you the vulnerable, authentic, real sides of what I'm going through in my life, it will inspire you to share more of your heart and your authenticity and your unique voice with the world. And we want this to be a growing tribe. And in order for that to happen, we want you. So please subscribe, share this with your loved ones, engage in the comments with others who are on the same journey as you of using love as the compass. You are always, in all ways, seen, heard, and loved.